What is truth? I mean, you've got your truth, I've got my truth. You got to speak your truth, live your truth. Seems like a very present day, modern / postmodern question. But interestingly enough, we find it spoken by someone 2,000 years ago in today's 5-minute devotional from John chapter 18, verses 28 through the end of the chapter. So, then they brought Jesus from Caiaphas to the praetorium, which was like the governor's official residence. And it was early, and they themselves did not enter the praetorium so that they would not be defiled, but might eat the Passover. This is really interesting that all of this, with Jesus going to his death, happens during the Passover, this ancient celebration of the sacrifice of a lamb that causes your house to be passed over by the angel of death so that you don't have to die, or the firstborn doesn't have to die anyway. So Pilate came out and said, "What accusation are you bringing against this man?" They answered and said to him, "If this man were not a criminal, we would not have handed him over to you." Oh, it's the old, if he wasn't a criminal, of course we wouldn't have arrested him kind of a deal. Doesn't matter what he did or didn't do. So Pilate said to them, "Take him yourselves and judge him according to your law." The Jewish leaders said to him, "We are not permitted to put anyone to death." This happened so that the word of which Jesus had said, indicating what kind of death he was going to die, would be fulfilled. And this is just a technicality of their legal system at this time, because they were occupied by the Romans. The Romans reserved certain powers for themselves, and one of those powers was the death penalty. And apparently somebody couldn't face the death penalty unless it was through Roman authority, not through the local authority. And they really wanted Jesus put to death. So they had to bring something against him that would be a capital offense, something that he needed to die for. And one of those things would be revolution, starting a revolution and claiming to be a king. And that's going to come into play very soon here. Therefore, Pilate entered the praetorium again and summoned Jesus and said to him, "You are a king of the Jews?" So, this may have looked ridiculous at this point. Here's a guy whose followers didn't even really follow him when he got in trouble. He's from this really backwoods place, poor guy, and it's almost sort of a mockery to say, "Oh, yeah, so you think you're king?" It's almost like a question to see whether or not he's crazy. This guy, he thinks he's a king? So Jesus answered, "Are you saying this on your own, or did others tell you about me?" As so often happens, Jesus answers a question with a question. And this one's really telling. Because what he's saying is, it makes a difference. It makes a difference if you're asking for yourself. And it's a question that we all have to answer. Is Jesus a king for me? Are you asking this on your own? It doesn't matter what someone else answers for now. What do you answer about this? Pilate answered, "I'm not a Jew, am I? Your own nation and the chief priests handed you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not from this world. If my kingdom were from this world, my servants would be fighting so that I would not be handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not from this realm." And we saw this with Peter. When Peter tried to fight, like any other earthly revolutionary would fight, and Jesus said, "Put that sword away," and healed the ear of the guy that Peter cut off his ear. So Pilate said to him, "You are a king?" Jesus answered, "You say correctly that I am a king. For this purpose I have been born, and for this I have come into the world, to testify to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice." And we saw earlier in this book, Jesus even described himself as the way, the truth, and the life. And it's his truth that sets people free. But those life-changing truths about truth, I'm sure we're not necessarily very convincing to Pilate in this place. And he answers with that phrase, what is truth? Which in a way just seems like, we can't know what's real, so I'm not going to listen to what you're going to say. Just being dismissive. So after saying this, he came out again to the Jews and said to them, I find no grounds at all for charges in his case. However, if you have a custom that I release one prisoner for you at the Passover. Therefore, do you wish me to release for you this king of the Jews? Pilate really didn't want to be involved. He knew Jesus was popular, but he also knew that he wanted to be on good terms with the religious leaders, so he was kind of stuck. So he's like, okay, I let one person go for your holiday, this Passover thing, whatever weird thing you do. I'll release this guy, we both win. How's that? And they wouldn't have any of it. They shouted again, not this man, but Barabbas. Now Barabbas was a rebel. So Barabbas actually was guilty of the things that Jesus was not guilty of. He was actually guilty of trying to start a revolution. And so here we have something that starts that day and is true for the rest of time. We have someone who is guilty going free because Jesus, who is not guilty, gets convicted for his crime and dies. And that was true then, and that's true now. That we can go free because Jesus has been convicted this day.